We are here in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, the Sycamore Grill Restaurant and Tap Room. This is where the Rotary Club of Stroudsburg afternoon meeting meets. We just finished the meeting. This is the owner's car. His name is David. He looked at my car and he saw that I have announced to the world that I donated a kidney, and you can too. So he came up to me and asked me, "Hey, did you donate a kidney?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, I did too." And then we got talking. So come on, let's find out what David has to say and what his experience of donating a kidney was like. And this is what I love about my journey. We meet people who have done some extraordinary things, and we're all working towards that one goal of no one dies waiting for an organ. The Rotary meets right over here. And this is David. David is the owner of this lovely facility, as you can see. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. He's got a lot more on the other side of that mirror. And David.
Hello.
Good to have you on this short blurb.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Tell me your reactions.
My reactions?
Well, you saw...
Oh, I saw your rig outside. Hard to miss that. And saw that you were a donated kidney. That your blurb on the side says you can too. So I came to introduce myself because I also donated a kidney about 16 years ago to one of my cousins.
And how are you doing health-wise?
Oh, fine. I never had.
So for 16 years, it was almost like you never gave it.
Yeah, exactly. It was like that. I mean, the month or two of recovery was a little challenge, being laid up in bed, but after that, I sprung right back, and it's been fine. And her kidney, the kidney's still lasting. And
well, 16 years, that's quite a bit.
Yeah, it's starting to fail a little bit now, but it's really held its own and done well. I gave her a new lease on life. She got married, and she's her life has really changed.
And the whole point of my journey is to let people know that even after you donate a kidney, life doesn't change very much. In fact, maybe a little better. Are you taking better care of your health because of it?
Well, before the surgery, I had about 9 months of notice, and I got in really, really good shape. Since then, I've slipped a little bit the last few years, but I'm certainly more health conscious now than I was, and I've had zero problems. Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. And how old were you when you gave it?
Let's see, I was 45 probably.
Oh, same as me. I was 46 when I gave it.
Okay, yeah. She asked me at Christmas Eve dinner, and I sure I would get tested, not thinking much of it. And then two or three tests later, we're an ideal match, and she's living donor. And
but clearly it was your love for her that made you say yes. But what were your emotions after you said yes? I mean, I'm sure things went on in your head.
Things did go on. At first, I was a little surprised that we were such a good match. Then I knew it was game on and time to get serious. We live in different parts of the country, so the surgery was down in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I got.
Did you go down there?
I did. Yep, I was down there for the surgery, for a couple tests, and then a month of recovery in Charlotte.
Now, did you at that time, were you aware, or maybe it wasn't even in place, but for donors, the federal government here, I think puts aside $3,000 for lost wages for donors to leave their jobs and go and save a life. Did you get that?
I did not. I did not know that, but I didn't need it at the time. I was employed by the local newspaper.
Okay.
They paid my wages while I was gone. Also, they gave me a $1,000 bonus that year, if I remember correctly.
Oh, that's good.
It did, and then my family was helpful with anything that I needed. And so.
And what about your family?
Well, my parents live in Charlotte where the surgery was, so I was able to convalesce at their house.
Were you married at the time?
I was not, no.
Okay.
And that's how I met my wife, because she heard about the good deed I did. So that worked out.
Oh, so you gave a kidney and found a wife.
Precisely, yes.
So you did good, and that happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you still married?
We are, yes. Yep.
And tell me quickly that love story. How did you find out?
Well, we met here at the restaurant. She was running the restaurant, and I came in for a drink about 6 months after the surgery. And she
did you own this place then?
I did not, no. So she asked a mutual friend who that was, and he said, "Oh, that's Dave," and he just gave a kidney, and she's like,
Did she own this place?
She did not. She was running the place. We've since bought it together. So.
Oh, nice. So that's a good story.
It was a good story. Worked out great.
Yeah. And where did you live before this?
I moved here from the south, but I've been here for quite a few years.
Quite a few years. This is what makes my driving so cool, really, because you meet some really cool people just out of the blue. You don't expect it, and I'm really happy to meet a fellow kidney donor. Now, David, I'm off. I'm actually driving all the way down to Australia. Well, yeah, it's down, and some part of it will be on the boat. But I'm going to take part in the World Transplant Games, competing for India. If you see my T-shirt,
Oh wow,
this is Team India.
impressive.
It would be great if you're in great shape. You should probably come down there, and it will be an experience you won't forget.
I appreciate the invitation.
How inclined are you to sports?
Oh, very much so. Very much so.
Well, then you still have till April next year to get in shape, and
Okay.
Team USA is waiting for you.
Okay, sounds good. I'll give it some serious consideration.
All right, great.
Okay.
That's good to talk to you.
You too. Great.
David and I are continuing to talk off camera, and then he told me something that had to be on camera. Come on, David, spill it out.
Well, I forgot to tell him that when my cousin first asked me, it was Christmas Eve dinner, and I'd had a couple glasses of wine. She asked the whole table if anybody would consider getting tested to see if we're a possible match. I think it was my third glass of wine. I agreed to do it, kind of thinking I would never hear back from her. And a couple weeks later, she said, "Hey, remember Christmas Eve? You agreed to get tested," and that was the start of it.
So the moral of the story is, watch that wine. You may end up with one kidney less, but you'd be living two lives like he and I are doing, because he's living the life of his cousin and me and my brother. So maybe that wine is a good thing. It takes away the fear and brings love in front.
Exactly.
Right?
It did, yes.
Well, thanks for sharing that tidbit,
Sure.
because that is what makes your story even more cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Okay.
As I continue to talk to David, more comes out and more I need you to hear. So come on, David, tell me what you really think.
Well, I believe it's the hospital and doctors are obligated by law to remind you that donated kidney is elective surgery. And they certainly reminded me of that. I signed a waiver saying that I knew that. That didn't bother me one bit until the morning of the surgery, when they told me a couple more times, starting about 5 a.m. at the hospital. Finally, about 5:30, I said, "Guys, girls, I've got it. I understand it's elective, but please don't mention that anymore, because I don't want any doubt crawling into my brain, considering backing out of this, because
So
I
your
was fully committed."
adrenaline was pumping at that time,
My
right?
adrenaline was pumping. I didn't want any negative thoughts. I didn't want to even consider backing out, and I didn't. But they kept telling me that. So
And that's the key to the whole thing, is not having negative thoughts. I mean, science can take care of what it can, but mentally, we've got to take care of that.
I felt good about it. I felt good about the statistics of it. It was my cousin's second kidney. She had one from a cadaver years before that lasted a few years. But
So
she
yours was the second kidney for
Second,
her,
yep.
and
So
now
she-
she's ready for the third.
Exactly. Yep. And she has 4 kidneys in her now, because when you donate one,
Yeah, they
when
keep
it
them
fills,
in
it
there, yeah.
just stays in there. So she's got 4. I've got 1, and it worked out fine.
Well, that's great, and that's the other message I want to get out here is, even to doctors, you know, I know you've got to do your job, but don't go to a point where you create doubt for someone, and that goes against exactly what you're trying to do. So there's a lesson in there.
There is, yes, because as I said, I'd already signed the waiver saying I knew it was optional. I didn't have to go through with it, but I didn't need to be reminded of it
Exactly.
multiple times, especially that morning of it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Is there anything else you're leaving out, David?
No, just how the recovery. I will say I was convalescing at my parents' house, and that was one of the keys to the whole thing for me, is getting the help from the family. My dad was retired at the time, so he stayed home and took care of me until I was back on my feet.
Really good. So yes, it's an individual decision, but a family triumph.
For us,
Yes,
Yep.
for everyone actually. So thank you, David.
Sure, glad to do it. Meet you.
On the road, these are stories called donor stories. Well, hello, and welcome to Globelander. This is our room. It's a much smaller vehicle than Gulflander, but we still have a bed that's, well, equally big. It's just that we don't have a kitchen or a bathroom. And here I am, just resting it out under the shade of a tree here at the Shawnee Inn and Golf Resort in Pennsylvania. I just finished a talk in Strasbourg, and here I am just waiting for the next talk in 4 hours. I have 4 hours to kill, and I thought I'd just take a nice nap. It's not the pleasantest day. It's hot, but the trees are doing a fine job in getting me some shade. So, good night.